No, it's the entire slab is large piece of concrete, and it's I can put a gloss or lacquer coat on it. It's but it's concrete, but they put some kind of coating on it. Yeah, but very very shiny. Also, probably slippery too.
Is there a lot of painted marks on the floor, or like red lines or places to walk?
No, I saw it. It was yellow tape. But I don't know. That's the only thing I remember noticing.
Was there any rules about rings, watches? You had to remove things before you went into these areas, or?
Well, you removed those before you went into the installation.
They give you a badge then? Did you exchange a badge that you
No,
carry all the time?
No. Well, to get in, you get a badge. To get in.
So you didn't have a badge when you first get there?
No.
And exchange it like for a white one, for a yellow one, for a red one?
No.
You got on the airplane, you went there, you went to
you get
the
on with an
installation,
escort,
and then you got your badge at the installation.
Right at S4, not at ground.
Were you given like one of those little green U.S. government ID cards with your picture on it or anything like the military badge?
Didn't get a film dose badge either, nothing.
How'd you get on board the airplane? Escort all the time?
On board the plane at
The EG&G?
Yeah, Dennis was always waiting there for me.
Okay.
So there were no dose badges. There wasn't any fear, evidently, or anything.
Not that I saw on anybody.
That's really interesting. It tells you something about the material. I mean, you've dealt with all that crap.
I mean, Los Alamos.
Mark II.
And places where there was no radioactive material at all. You had a dose badge on anyway.
Yeah, my son-in-law is a nuclear power plants officer aboard the Nimitz. And he says, oh, yeah, badges all the time. They're tested all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody's got them.
Everywhere. But no, none for that area.
She's got to say something about the safety of the material. And there's no
disregard for human life.
One or the other, yeah.
Yeah, perhaps that. No, I don't think so. I wouldn't think so.
When you got the job or whatever, were you given any kind of like an outline of what has to happen by a certain date, or was it just go as you have to, or get it done as it goes, or?
It was strange. There was really no, goals set.
Were there any like morning briefings, afternoon briefings, or?
No, I wasn't to that stage yet. I was more of a casual employee. There was no set job for me to perform yet. I had.
What did they ask of you, Bob, when you first were interviewed, or the second interview at EG&G? What were they concerned about?
It was strange. They went through with a typical interview. What I had done.
Incidentally, this is just amongst us. This is not going to go anywhere.
What I had done in previous jobs, what jobs with my field of expertise was specifically what I did in Los Alamos and things along that sort. But the second interview, which I think really weighed heavily, they really wanted to know what I did in my spare time. It was almost like my personal life, and. I kept reverting back to, I worked, I wasn't sure that they were interested in me, and I kept, pulling out of my memory things that I had also worked with, and I said, cryostats, I did a lot of work with cryostats in Los Alamos, a lot of cryogenic work, low temperature this, and they said, yeah. So, about this other stuff you did. Yeah, I mean, they'd always go back to, it was almost like a personality interview, or to see what my interests were out of work, and which completely confused me. So at that time, then I just gave up and just answered the questions.
You think they were looking for a situation where if they had to deny anything that you've ever said, they could find it easy to do so because of the background?
Maybe so. I mean, they asked me all kinds of off-the-wall questions and things they knew that obviously they had spoken to somebody that knew.
Did they know about the brothel and all of this other stuff?
They knew about that. They knew about everything, a bunch of crazy things I did. And
It's almost like they were.
And in fact, I would
Deny you should something.
well, you know, they went on and on about all this stuff, and they said, I don't know who they spoke to. When I was 15 or something, I blew out the second-story windows in my parents' house, and they brought that up, and I said, "Where are you guys getting this from?" And they had all this personal information about me, and I finally said somewhere in the interview that I said, "Is this working against me, by the way? Because now I'm not sounding like a guy that you'd want to hire." And then, you know, they all laughed, and that was essentially the end of the interview when I was told to come back after that. But I don't know what the point was.
When they checked on me, they checked on my neighbors. They never came to me, never talked with me, but they talked with my neighbors.
The kind of never talked to my parents.
Oh, they talked
to
the
Air Force. They talked to all the neighbors in the neighborhood. They never talked to my parents.
In fact, when I had heard that there were two investigators, this goes back to 1959, and I called the FBI office in Chicago, and I said, "Look, this is what I do. I'm an aviation historian, and I discovered the U-2 and what it does, and I have an interest in aerial reconnaissance airplanes, RB-57D, RB-36Js, you know." And I said, "I'll be happy to talk with you, but this is what I do. I intend to keep doing it. And I'll come down to your office or send your guy out, and we'll sit down and talk." And they never confirmed it or anything else. You know, they never said that it was their people or anything. My neighbors didn't know. They just said that they asked me, are you changing jobs? Are you going to work for the government or something, John? Because two guys have been asking all kinds of questions about you. Was I a good father, a good citizen, all, you know, the whole background. So when I discovered that, I called FBI, and then they never called me in, and they never confirmed that it was them. And at that time, it could have been CIA people, because I was interested in the U-2 at that time. That's what it was all about.
Yeah, one of my friends who they talked in depth with, he said, again, they were, you know, they really wanted to know about my personality. They said, you know, in fact, I think specifically one of their questions was, now look, when this guy gets mad, does he start throwing screwdrivers around or things like that? And, you know, how much does he drink? You know, questions along those lines.
Stability issues, yeah.
Drugs and things like that.
Yeah, of course, drug stuff came up.
Mark got into hot water. He kind of liked a little lady in England who was with the IRA. The Air Force frowned upon it.
Yep.
Caused a little problem.
I dealt with the OSI on that.
Yeah, they came and pulled one of my friends out of work, USI up in Tonopah.
And they're ones to find any little niche they can get a crowbar into about your past and whatnot that they can use eventually as evidence why you shouldn't be around.
Well, should we go back and make some sketches and side views and try and get it as right as possible? We'll have a great variety so you can look at it and make your comments. We'll try and get the levels right and everything else. And we can take it from there. And I can do the nice illustration. You might want to do the little keys and insights into it, all that stuff. But I'll do the scene. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that should be a neat drawing. I'd love to have that enlarged in something. In fact, do a line drawing of that too, or photocopy it before you color it, so I can have my T-shirt.
Yeah,
I've always wanted.
yeah.
Of course, you might have to sign a licensing agreement with the government or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is still I just wonder how far they're going to go before or tolerate and allow everybody to mess with this before they say something.
Unless, like so many people said, maybe that's their intention. You know, I find that hard to believe.
You know, how do you... It's so well contained. How do you prove it or disprove it? Other than, you know...
Is it that well contained, though? I mean, is it really? Look how much...
Well, no, it's not. But to your question, do you ever feel you want to get back into the physics side of it? I mean, just...
Oh, yeah.
Making pictures is, you know, is wonderful if it pays the rent, but I mean, you've got to, because of your background and knowledge.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You want to get back into it somewhere, somehow.
I wish I could have just been there a little longer, and now I would be so flabbergasted with everything I saw. I can concentrate on the missing pieces of information that I want. Yeah, I want back in, but not, on my own terms.
Is Dennis absolutely stable? Is he content and happy with what he's doing and never, ever will ever say anything about it?
I don't think so. How can anybody be that way? It's got to be a little pride point in everyone's life.
I mean, the other physicists or engineers, whatever they were, whatever specialty they had, there's got to be a point where they begin to think that, God, if the other scientists in this field knew this,
right?
Thermodynamicists, whatever was going on, there's got to be something there that would potential benefit if we could get this out. And unless they're doing that, is it being filtered into industry somehow?
I
select companies, EG&G or whoever into the university system.
If it's not, and it's just the other way, just the people that had guts to say anything.
Was he looking for like a...
What kind of time did you spend there when you were there? I mean, did you spend like a few hours? Did you spend a whole day?
Sometimes I spent up to 8 hours, but that was only on a couple occasions. Usually it was only about 4 or 5 hours.
And where did you eat?
Usually I
did. They
did.
have a break room?
No, because I'd eat before I went out there. I usually eat about 3:30 before I went out, and when you got to 51 and waited for the bus, there was a little like snack shop cafeteria thing where you could get something, but there was no place to eat down there.
Did they have drinking fountains at all?
Yeah, they had drinking fountains, but there was no place.
No Coke machines or...
No, I never did see
the guy
any.
go with you to the men's room?
Yes. I never did see, and went inside too. I never did see any place to eat, but then I never asked, so I don't know. Maybe, and like I said, I only saw a little bit of the installation, and where I worked, this thing could be big. Of course, it could only be that size too, but I just don't know.
And how many times were you actually out there?
6.
The guard was with you all that time, constantly. And was this the case with everybody that was there for the most part? Or just a new man, the new kid?
Most of the time, but most of the time with other people, but more with me. Now, and it wasn't every single time, because when I worked with Barry, showing me the way things operated, that was the first time we were alone, and I actually got to kind of joke around with somebody. So we did have some alone time there.
But there was never any socializing off that facility or back here in Las Vegas or anything.
No, like I said, that's one of the reasons I think they worked on the buddy system. You have someone to work with and someone to talk to.
It's almost like the nuclear bomb thing in the submarine.
So you have someone to let out stuff to.
Yeah.
But he's also part of the project, so you can talk to him, but that's it.
Sounds like he was given good psychological studies.
Well, who was the buddy that you had? Was it
Barry.
Dennis? Or Barry.
Barry.
Was he young? Or
Older than me, maybe 35, 40.
did you get to talk a lot about where you come from and where you?
No, we didn't get that. No, we didn't get that far.
With the intensity of the guard, what was he guarding you against?
I have no idea. It was just there.
Were you going to take something or?
I don't know. It was almost seemed like it was
just. You couldn't make a phone call.
It almost seemed like it was just intimidation.
Oh, that could be too.
I don't know if it really did serve any purpose.
You couldn't tell where the door was anymore on it. I mean, it just sort of blends back in when they put the door on completely.
Unless the door was facing the other side. I didn't see it.
Did you ever see it in the hangar with the door on it?
No.
You saw it. That's it as a model. It's only going to be really neat on the inside. It's one of those things you can pop the top off.
Everything is. I think this is the type of project that's got to have artwork on a box.
That looks like the most boring model.
Yeah.
And then even an inset of a gray at one of the seats inside, and do a little plastic gray figure or two, or three or four up in the top.
A guard.
You know, the question is, what was the total crew complement on this?
Were there any dogs out there? Any dog handler type?
You know, it's so remote and buried so far. Maybe they felt that anybody trying to come in would have been caught at the periphery.
Well, I thought maybe they might.
Yet at the same time,
the guys at periphery, the edge on the base.
well, look at what happened this week with the British that got on board for that test, that nuclear test. There were 3 people almost at ground zero. They were, what, half a mile away or something? That's pretty deep penetration. for God's
Yeah, but
sake.
that's an easy place to get on. You just hike. There's no security there at all. It's nuts.
Come over the fence near Mercury and then just
Oh yeah,
work your
I
way
mean,
in.
people make a big deal out of that. I don't see the problem. You could walk right onto ground zero.
Well, I was told by
Why they want to.
OSI colonel. This goes back in the 78 about Area 51. He said, John, if
Yeah,
they
I'd
really
see someone walk onto 51.
well, no, he said if somebody really in numbers made an intense effort to penetrate 51, and there was enough people doing it, it could be done. Because we don't have that many people out there to handle a real en masse charge, so to speak, of people trying to get into the area. And he says that's one of the reasons why we kind of keep it quiet, low key, so that we don't get hundreds of off-roaders out in that area and trying to penetrate. He says we really couldn't keep them all away. Now that may have been
Probably
bullshit,
true.
but then again, maybe it was true. I don't know. What, did you get an A10 in the strafe from,
Yeah, what lengths would they go to?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because there's still a lot of crap out there at Area 51 that's flying. Interesting machine. Hot stuff.